The first one came on a Thursday. I remember because it was the same day I found out my mother had to have surgery. I was already sitting in a hospital corridor when my phone lit up with a name I almost didn't recognize. His name was Joel. We had worked together briefly, 3 years before this, at a company neither of us worked at anymore. We weren't close. We weren't anything, really. The message said, "Hey. I heard you left the firm. Hope you're doing well." I didn't reply that day. But I saved it. I don't know why I saved it. Instinct, maybe. Or maybe something in me already knew that this was the beginning of something I would need a record of. We began talking properly about 6 weeks later. He was warm. Attentive. The kind of person who remembers things you mentioned once and brings them back later, casually, like they were always thinking of you. He told me he had thought about me for years. That he had always regretted not saying something when we worked together. That he thought I was the most interesting woman he had ever met. I was 34. I had just gone through a difficult year. I was, if I'm honest, exactly the kind of person those words work on. They worked. We met for coffee. Then dinner. Then it was just us. A relationship. Something I thought was real. And I saved every message. Not deliberately, at first. Just because I never delete things. My phone is a museum of everything anyone has ever sent me. But I saved them. Every single one. Joel was married. I want to be precise about the timeline, because the timeline matters. He had been married for 6 years when we started talking. His wife's name was Rachel. She was a teacher. They had a daughter who had just turned 4. I did not know any of this. He had told me he was divorced. That it had ended 2 years before. That he didn't like talking about it because it still hurt. I respected that. I didn't push. That restraint, that kindness, he used it against me. He told Rachel he was traveling for work 3 or 4 nights a month. He had a colleague who covered for him, someone who owed him a favor, apparently. He had a second phone. He had a whole second life. And he had me. We were together, if you can call it that, for 18 months. In that time he told me he loved me 4 times. I counted. Not at the time. Later. He met my sister. He came to my flat for Christmas. He talked about the future with the easy confidence of a man who had decided you would be in it. And in that same time, he went on 2 family holidays with Rachel and their daughter. He attended his father-in-law's retirement party. He renewed the lease on the family home. I know all of this because later, I looked. But at the time, I knew none of it. At the time, I was just happy. Or something that felt like happiness, built on a foundation that didn't exist. He ended it by text. That detail still catches in my chest when I think about it. 18 months. 4 times he said he loved me. And he ended it by text. The message was 2 paragraphs. He said he had been doing a lot of thinking. That he wasn't in a good place. That he cared about me deeply but didn't think he could give me what I deserved. That he hoped I would understand. He used the phrase "it's not you," actually used it, in a message to a 35-year-old woman. As if I were someone who needed that line delivered gently. I replied, "Okay. Take care of yourself." Then I sat on my kitchen floor for a while. And then, and I still can't fully explain this, I opened my messages and I started reading from the beginning. I am not a suspicious person by nature. But something had shifted in the last few weeks of our relationship and I hadn't been able to name it. A slowness to reply. A flatness to his voice on calls. A sense that I was being managed. Reading back through 2 years of messages, I started to see the pattern. There were gaps. Specific gaps, the same days each month, roughly. Days where replies came hours later than usual, and when they came, they were short. Clipped. Already somewhere else. There were phrases that appeared in clusters, usually after those gaps. Warmer, more affectionate. Overcorrections. And there were messages where he had referenced things, a dinner, a film, a conversation, that I had no memory of having. Things he had apparently told me about that I had never been told about at all. He had mixed up his lives. He had told me things that were meant for Rachel. Small things. But they were there. In the messages. That I had saved. For 4 years. I didn't confront him. I know that surprises people. The instinct, when you find out something like this, is to call. To demand answers. To make them say it out loud. I didn't do that. Instead, I spent 2 weeks confirming what I already suspected. I found Rachel's name through a mutual connection, a single thread, pulled carefully. I found enough to know I was right. And then I wrote her a message. I want to be clear about what I sent her. I didn't send her everything. I didn't send her the most painful things. I didn't send her anything designed to humiliate either of them. I sent her the truth. Dates. Specifics. Enough that she could verify it herself if she needed to. Enough that she couldn't be talked out of it. I attached 12 screenshots. I pressed send. Rachel replied in 40 minutes. Her message was 3 lines. She said she had suspected for a long time. She said thank you. She said she was sorry this had happened to me too. That last line undid me a little. That she, in the middle of her own devastation, had thought to say that. We exchanged a few more messages over the following days. Not many. We were both trying to process the same earthquake from different sides of it. Joel reached out to me 3 days after I sent that message to Rachel. He had clearly just found out what I had done. His message was long. It cycled through, in order, confusion, justification, anger, and then something that tried to look like remorse. I read it once. I didn't reply. I saved it. I have a folder on my phone. It is called, simply, Record. Inside it are 4 years of messages. Every voice note. Every photograph he sent. Every promise. Every explanation. Every apology that came too late to mean anything. I don't open it often. Maybe twice in the 2 years since everything ended. But I keep it. Because keeping it reminds me of something important. The truth doesn't disappear just because someone stops telling it. It sits there. Patient. Waiting for the moment it's needed. And if you are careful enough, if you save things, if you pay attention, if you resist the urge to react before you're ready, you will have it when that moment comes. I think about Rachel sometimes. I hope she's okay. I hope her daughter is okay. I hope she found something on the other side of it that was better than what she had before. I think about the version of me who received that first message on a Thursday in a hospital corridor. Who almost didn't reply. Who had no idea what the next 4 years would contain. I want to tell her something. I want to tell her, you are going to save everything. And it's going to feel like nothing, for a long time. Just clutter. Just habit. Until the day it is the only thing standing between you and a lie you would have believed forever. Save the messages. Save all of them. You never know which one will be the one that finally tells the truth.